month, but I think it's been
Does somebody
especially...
go as a result of this? Is it either, we were just talking about this to Chuck Todd, does either Scaramucci go, or, I mean, I guess it's subject to some debate about where he is. And I don't know, Jonathan says, if anybody is going, it's going to be Priebus and Bannon.
Well, I don't know who's going to go, but this doesn't feel sustainable. I don't think you can have this continuing feud go on for months to come at this peak of emotion. I mean, something's going to have to give here in order for an agenda to get through.
Yeah, in this battle between Scaramucci and Priebus, we almost forgot that there was this whole thing going on with Jeff Sessions and the President of the United States. And we actually heard for the first time from Jeff Sessions about this yesterday. I want to play that.
Well, it's kind of hurtful, but the President of the United States is a strong leader. If he wants to make a change, he can certainly do so, and I would be glad to deal.
You know, it occurred to me yesterday, Jonathan, again, as I was watching the press briefing, and I heard from the third senior White House official in one day saying we also, you know, we serve the pleasure of the President, but refusing to say that he is supportive of any individual in his cabinet, any individual on his senior staff who he has ever asked about. They never say, well, the President supports him 100%. They never say that. Obviously, this is the White House where a lot of people think their job is at stake. What are you hearing from your sources, Jonathan? Does Sessions survive? And is the attention now kind of the pressure off of him as it shifts over to the whole other fight with Priebus?
The big question with Sessions has always been what comes next. I mean, Donald Trump, none of this is new. Ever since the recusal, I mean, Donald Trump was in his residence when the recusal happened. He saw it on TV and immediately sort of went into a rage about it. And nothing's changed. He's been venting about Sessions for a long time. They've talked, he's mused about replacements, but it still comes back to two problems. Number one, whoever you replace him has to get Senate confirmation because the Democrats won't let him do a sneak move during the August recess. And secondly, the two people under Sessions at the Justice Department are, if anything, more independent, more likely to be tough on Trump. So does he do some sort of giant massacre at the top of the DOJ? I mean, the options are not terrific for Donald Trump here. So the conversation, that's why the conversation has been so tortured, so drawn out, and of course there's the public dimension because I think the President enjoys the sort of public humiliation aspect of it.
Well, we'll see if he mentions any of this in Long Island in his speech that's supposed to be about gang members. Axios's Jonathan Swan, thank you. Have a good weekend. Washington Post, Philip Rucker. Thanks, Philip. Good to see you. We do have some breaking news to tell you about. NBC News just confirming that Charlie Gard has passed away. That, of course, the British infant who had been on life support suffering from that rare genetic condition. He was 11 months old. His parents' attempt to bring him to the U.S. for an experimental treatment captured the attention of people the world over, including the Pope and President Trump. Joining us from London is NBC's Ali Arouzi. Obviously, this was a heartbreaking situation. Our hearts go out to his parents, to his family. What can you tell us?
Indeed, Chris, a heartbreaking situation. We've just heard from representatives of Charlie's parents, Connie Yates and Chris Gard, that their 11-month-old child has just died. Presumably, he's been taken off life support. As you know, Chris, his parents have been embroiled in a bitter fight with the hospital at almost every stage of his care. As you mentioned, they wanted to take him to the U.S. for experimental treatment. They were fighting the courts to get that done, but once Charlie's situation had become irreversible, they had then taken their fight to a different stage to try and take the 11-month-old boy home so he could spend the last few days there with him and some tranquility, as they put it. But that wasn't possible either in the end, and the judge said that the boy had to be taken to a hospice and the details of his stay at the hospice would be kept private until after his death, which has just happened now. The parents wanted their son to spend a matter of weeks possibly with him at the hospice, but the judge said that he had to take little Charlie's best interest into heart, and it was possible that he was suffering now, and that this had to come to a head sooner rather than later. He had given them till 12 o'clock yesterday to make their decision, as to how they were going to go forward. It was all done in private, and it appears now that little Charlie has passed away at a hospice here in London. Chris?
So sad, Ali. Thank you so much. Appreciate your report. And up next, the latest on the escalating international tensions after North Korea launches another missile today and Russian retaliation. The Kremlin demands the U.S. cut its embassy staff in Moscow in response to a new series of sanctions approved by Congress. Yet the White House hasn't said whether the president will sign that legislation. What happens if he vetoes it? We'll get the latest next.
Sponsored by Aleve, all day strong, all day long.
This is loyal. To prove to you that the better choice for him is Aleve, we agreed to give it up.
Hey, but I have 30 acres to cover last Sunday.
We'll be with him all day as he goes back to taking Tylenol.
Yeah, I was okay, but after lunch, my knee started hurting again, so more pills. Yep, another pill stop. Can I get my Aleve back yet? For my pain, I want my Aleve.
Get all day minor arthritis pain relief with an easy open cap.
At the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's, we carry flowers that signify why we want to end the disease. And we hope so that one day there will be a white flower for Alzheimer's first survivor. Join the fight at alz.org/walk.
Have you been diagnosed with spinal stenosis, bulging or herniated disc, sciatica, or other chronic spine conditions? Are you ready to find lasting relief? Call Laser Spine Institute, the nation's leader in minimally invasive spine surgery, to learn how a less than 1-inch incision can have you up and walking within a few hours of surgery, free from chronic back pain, and with no hospital stay and no lengthy recovery.
Call 1-800-384-BACK now for your no-cost MRI review.
Take your first step in joining over 60,000 patients who found lasting relief at Laser Spine Institute.
My boss would send me home because I was in excruciating pain. Going to Laser Spine Institute, I go in, I have the procedure, and walk out a changed person, good to go back to work. It's changed my life completely.
If you've been told you might need neck or back surgery, call 1-800-384-BACK now for your no-cost MRI review.
Laser Spine Institute, a less than 1-inch incision, a lifetime of standing tall.
Backpack, check. That's the thing. Taking care of business. Awesome notebook. Check. Who takes care of that? Office Max. This week, these composition books are just 25 cents each.
Damn it.
It's about moving forward, not back. It's looking up, not down. It's being in motion. In body, in spirit, in the now. Boost High Protein. It's intelligent nutrition with 15 grams of protein and 26 vitamins and minerals. For when you need a little extra. Boost, the #1 high protein complete nutritional drink. Be up for it.
It's the follow year end. Every song. We're giving you the bottom line on our best lineup ever. Save big on America's best-selling SUV, America's best truck warranty, and introducing the brand new Rogue Sport, the casual edition of the Nissan Rogue family. Get to Nissan's bottom line model year end event and lease the Rogue family today, starting at just $159 per month, or 0% financing for up to 72 months on 12 models. Remember when everything we did was for the fun of doing it? BMW sports activity vehicles are the perfect combination. Ample space, dynamic power, and sleek design. But it truly is an X perfect for every adventure, so you can go wherever the fun takes you. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
His ball, damn it. Oh, it's falling the ball. Scared.
Top Gear America series premiere Sunday at 8. Only on BBC America.
We're following two big international stories this afternoon. The Pentagon just confirming that North Korea launched a ballistic missile, and Russia is retaliating today after the Senate approved sanctions against Moscow for its interference in the 2016 elections. The U.S. Embassy has been ordered to reduce its staff. 2 American diplomatic properties have been seized. I'm joined by Wendy Sherman, who served as Undersecretary of State for Global Affairs at the State Department for Secretaries Kerry and Clinton. And NBC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel is in Moscow for us. And Richard, let me start with this reaction by Moscow. Tell us more about it, what the feeling is over there, and what they're hoping will happen, what they hope to accomplish.
Well, I'm standing in front of one of those diplomatic compounds. This is a country retreat just outside of Moscow in a forest that has been long used by the American embassy, by American diplomatic staff and their families as a place to relax. There's a barbecue inside, a swing set, clearly a place that's designed for entertaining, to get away from the pressures of the city. As you can see, it's gated shut, and the government says that as of the end of this month, it will be off limits to American personnel. It seems like it is already off limits to personnel. We haven't seen anyone coming or going, and we've been here for the last several hours now. This facility, also a storage facility in Moscow used by the U.S. Embassy as well, both of them seized. But perhaps the bigger move here is the limiting of the number of American personnel stationed in this country. Russia says that over the next month and a half it will be expelling hundreds of Americans who work here, technical staff, diplomats, in order to reduce the number to 455. And the reason that number is significant is that is the number that Russia says of personnel that Russia says it has serving in the United States. So it believes that this is reciprocity. And this goes back to a move, initially, it goes back to a move under the Obama administration when President Obama seized two diplomatic compounds from Russia, expelled dozens of Russian diplomats. At the time, President Vladimir Putin didn't retaliate. This was right before the Trump inauguration. It seems that Putin wanted to give Trump a chance, wanted to see what would happen. But now with the Senate and House having passed new sanctions, the Russians decided to act now.
All right, thank you so much, Richard. Ambassador Sherman, what do you make of the swiftness of this decision by Moscow, and will it accomplish anything?
Well, I think we're actually back to a sort of kind of regular order in what was once the kind of Cold War back and forth that went on, though I hope we're not in a brand new Cold War, we're in something quite different. But nonetheless, this isn't a great surprise that they have retaliated, created these reciprocal steps, and indeed it's reported today that Secretary Tillerson and Foreign Minister Lavrov spoke today, and Foreign Minister Lavrov said they're ready to work with us on the local threats. So indeed, one has to show Moscow that when they interfere in our democracy, in our election, in the very being that we are as the United States of America, we are going to take action. So I hope the President signs the legislation that passed overwhelmingly and certainly in veto override proof ways, and continue to send a message to Moscow that we are tough and we are serious.
I mean, given those numbers, do you see any way the President doesn't sign this into law, or you think he might actually, I mean, what would he accomplish by vetoing it?
Well, it's hard to predict anything these days in terms of what the President will do, as you've been saying all morning, Chris. I think that what he's put out is, well, maybe he'll be tougher, he'll negotiate something tougher, and in fact, that was referred to when Putin took this action, that the President had said he might be doing something more onerous. I think he's got to sign this legislation. It will be written by the Congress. And it's important for us to get to work. Your other story today on North Korea shows the seriousness of the fact that our government is not populated with all the experts and people that it needs, that there isn't regular order to deal with these incredibly serious issues, and that the President is focused on tweets, not focused on the national security of this country.
Let's talk about the threat posed by Kim Jong-un, and we just heard from our Pentagon correspondent that for a long time we were hearing the potential that the U.S. could be threatened by 2020. Now they're moving that up to 2018. Obviously something that's deeply concerning, that within a year or so this could be a very real and present danger. But we've known for a long time that at least the military options, the responses, none of the options are very good. So even if there were to be regular order somehow, we know that's not the case right now, certainly within foreign relations, within the State Department. What's the U.S. going to do about it?
Well, there is a chance, I was going to say shot, but it seemed like too great an irony. There is a chance of a diplomatic strategy that would be backed by a credible threat force by onerous sanctions that would be deeply enforced by a very concerted conversation with China, not just over dinner, but at lower levels in a very disciplined and focused way to try to get China to use the leverage that it has, working very much with South Korea and Japan in terms of military exercises and military prowess and missile defense, but a very complex strategy. And quite frankly, the team is not in place to carry out such a complex strategy, which would be tough, might not get us to where we need to go, but quite frankly, as you have said, the choices here are pretty bad. And we've got to at least give diplomacy and using all of our tools all at once in a comprehensive fashion to try to get us away from the brink of war. The other day, when the president did his tweets, which ultimately were about transgender Americans serving in the military, which they do every single day, and I thank them for it, that first tweet didn't say what the topic was, but rather that he had been consulting with his generals. And it was reported that generals at the Pentagon were nervous for 9 minutes till the second tweet came out because they thought the president might be declaring war on North Korea. That's a pretty scary thought, that the generals at the Pentagon thought the president of the United States might declare war by tweet.
Terrifying, to say the least. Wendy Sherman, NBC's Richard Engel, thanks to both of you. And be sure to tune in for On Assignment with Richard Engel. That's tonight, 9 Eastern, right here on MSNBC. Hometown hero. Constituents in Maine reacting to their senator. Susan Collins' vote against the Obamacare repeal bill. We'll hear some of their feedback live from Maine. Also live pictures from Brentwood, New York, where protesters have gathered and where the president is scheduled to speak any minute now. We'll bring you that live as soon as he takes the stage.
Surprising. What's not surprising? How much money you'll save by switching to Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
She's nationally recognized for her compassion and care. He spent decades fighting to give families a second chance. But to help others, they first had to protect themselves.
I have AFib. Even for a nurse, it's complicated, and it puts me at a higher risk of stroke.
That would be devastating. I had to learn all I could to help protect myself.
Once I got the facts, my doctor and I chose Xarelto.
Xarelto, to help keep me protected.
Once daily Xarelto, the latest generation blood thinner, significantly lowers the risk of stroke in people with AFib not caused by a heart valve problem. It has similar effectiveness to warfarin.
Xarelto works differently.
Warfarin interferes with at least 6 blood clotting factors. Xarelto is selective, targeting just one critical factor, interacting with less of your body's natural blood clotting function. For AFib patients well managed on warfarin, there is limited information on how Xarelto compares to reducing the risk of stroke. Don't stop taking Xarelto without talking to your doctor, as this may increase risk of stroke. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. It may increase your risk of bleeding if you take certain medicines. Xarelto can cause serious, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Get help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling. If you've had spinal anesthesia, watch for back pain, or any nerve or muscle-related signs or symptoms. Do not take Xarelto if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. Tell your doctor before all planned medical or dental procedures and before starting Xarelto about any conditions such as kidney, liver, or bleeding problems.
It's important to learn all you can.
Help protect yourself from stroke.
Talk to your doctor about Xarelto. There's more to know.
It's for steak and seafood bash. Mom wants the rancher's ribeye. That's a good call. Junior, the butterfly shrimp. But Pop, the Mac Daddy. Golden Corral. Your choice moves.
I'm a concrete mason. I own my own company. I had some severe fatigue, some funny rashes. Finally, listening to my wife, went to a doctor, and I became diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. That diagnosis was and I could put my trust in somebody.
When I first met Steve, we recommended chemotherapy, and then we did high-dose therapy and then autologous stem cell transplant. Unfortunately, he went on to have progressive disease. I thought that he would be a good candidate for immune therapy. It's an intravenous medicine that is going to make his immune system invade the tumor.
With chemotherapy, that felt fatigue, nauseous, and with immune therapy, we've had such a positive result. I'm back to working hard, I'm honest, I never felt this great.
I believe the future of immunotherapy at CTCA is very bright.
The evolution of cancer care is here. Learn more at cancercenter.com. Appointments available now.
Maybe a lot of people have forgotten the family and hurting, but we can't everything.
Enjoyed for 125 years by those who work hard. Maxwell's good to the last drop.
The White House blame game for the healthcare failure early this morning targets 3 Republicans who did no votes. And one of those senators, Maine Susan Collins, is a Republican in a state Hillary Clinton carried in 2016, although many in rural Maine are Trump supporters. NBC's Morgan Bradford is in Senator Collins' home state for us this afternoon, Morgan, in Dover, Foxcroft. So what are you hearing? What's the reaction there to the healthcare bill's failure and their senator's position?
Well, Chris, most of the people who we spoke to said they woke up this morning relieved that Obamacare remains the law of the land, in no small part thanks to their Senator Republican Susan Collins. Now, they said, look, Morgan, Maine has a unique population. 1, their population. 2, 23% of their state is on Medicaid. And 3, they have a large population of seasonal workers because of the farmland here. So that means some of those workers can't afford their own insurance, but they also say some of their employers don't cover enough of it. But here in Maine, Chris, it's also a twin effect because 1, it's not only medical, it's also financial. We're standing here, as you mentioned, in Dover, Foxcroft. The population is only about 4,500 people, and this is a unique farm-to-table restaurant. It's situated right across the street from the only local hospital in this region, and the owner here said if it weren't for the doctors and the patients who pass through on their way in and out of appointments, she might not have a business at all. Take a listen.
There'll be doctors coming and having lunch in our business, and then, you know, people coming from doctor's appointments at Mayo, they'll stop in for lunch. If we lost Mayo, we would have to drive about an hour to get service. And as a business owner, I personally don't have time to drive an hour each way to a doctor's appointment.
Now, that woman also has an 8-week-old baby, so she mentions that the proximity just really isn't feasible to her. 95,000 people across the state stood to lose their insurance if, in fact, Obamacare were repealed. So that's why the people here in Maine say they're glad that their senator stood up for the people of Maine and not just for her party. Back to you.
NBC's Morgan Bradford in Dover, Foxcroft, Maine, where I hope you have good lunch because that restaurant looks phenomenal. Thank you so much. And President Trump running a few minutes behind for his speech at Suffolk County Community College in Brentwood, New York, but protesters had gathered there. He's going to talk about gang violence, but will he avoid addressing the GOP's devastating loss of health care last night? We'll have it for you next.
It's the flooring sale you've been waiting for. Empire Today's half price sale. Get $2,400 of flooring for $1,200. Taking $200 for amazing $2,600. That's half the price of your entire purchase. Shop for carpet, hardwood, tile, vinyl, and laminate.
Oh, come on.
Professionally installed. Don't miss Empire's half price sale. Schedule now.
800-588-2300 Empire. Today, your brain is an amazing thing. But as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
What's with him?
He's happy. Your family's finally eating vegetables thanks to our bird's eye fallout skill meals.
And they only take 15 minutes to make.
Bird's eye fallout. Veggie good.
HomeAdvisor is the free way to find trusted local home pros. Other websites say they're free but charge you for most of their features. With HomeAdvisor, everything is free to use. Verified reviews, cost guides, and online booking. Go to HomeAdvisor.com.
Dolls used to hunt to satisfy their cravings. Now, the hunt is over. New Peak from Rachel Ray Nutrition. Made with 30% protein and 0% grains. Real beef or turkey is the #1 ingredient, combined with venison, duck, or quail. Satisfy your dog's cravings with protein-rich Peak, one of the specialty recipes from Nutrish. Real recipes, real ingredients, real good.
At Panera, a steak is so much more than one thing. More than one flavor, or texture, or color. A good, clean salad is so much more than green. And with Panera Catering, more for your event. Panera, food as it should be.
You always pay your insurance on time. Tap one on the plumber and upgo your rates. What good is having insurance if you get punished for using it?
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Needles. Essential for him, but maybe not for people with rheumatoid arthritis, because there are options, like an injection. Xeljanz XR, a once-daily pill for adults with moderate to severe RA for whom methotrexate did not work well. Xeljanz XR can reduce pain, swelling, and joint damage, even without methotrexate. Xeljanz XR can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections, lymphoma, and other cancers have happened. Don't start Xeljanz XR if you have an infection. Tears in the stomach or intestines, low blood cell counts, and higher liver tests.
So many opportunities.
Your doctor should perform blood tests before you start and while taking Xeljanz XR, and monitor certain liver tests. Tell your doctor if you are in a region where fungal infections are common, and if you have had TB, hepatitis B or C, or are prone to infections. Needles. Fine for some, but for you, one pill a day may provide symptom relief. Ask your doctor about Xeljanz XR, an injection.
Join Richard Nicholas in reports from Moscow with an exclusive interview with Eugene Kaspersky, whose cyber company has been accused of being an arm of the Russian government. On assignment with Richard Engel, tonight at 9 on MSNBC.
Well, you can see the police there on your left in front of a pretty good crowd of protesters that have gathered outside Suffolk County Community College. Inside, President Trump is scheduled to speak any minute now from Brentwood, New York. Now, officially the topic is immigration and gangs. But will we also talk about health care, the failure of the bill early this morning, or even the chaos in the White House? NBC's Kristen Dahlgren is there inside for us. So, Kristen, tell us a little bit about the scene. And obviously, Long Island is a place that unfortunately has known a lot of gang violence.
Right. Hi there, Chris. The president actually tweeting, calling this an area that's under siege from MS-13 this morning. He also said as he was making his way here that they will not stop until MS-13 is eradicated. He's really made this one of the key talking points of late. Of course, MS-13, international gang. Attorney General Jeff Sessions just down in El Salvador to talk about the gang and stopping things on that side of the border. But the protesters outside here say that it really is just a justification for the administration's immigration policies. So today, as the president is here talking, he's expected to announce plans for more officers, also expedited removal of any Central American illegal immigrants, and then also to be talking about the border wall, one of his key issues from the beginning of this campaign. You mentioned, will he talk about health care? That's a great question. He shouted a question as he was making his way here, and all he would say was, everything is going to be fine, Chris.
NBC's Kristen Dahlgren, thank you so much. And of course, we will bring you President Trump live in Brentwood, New York as soon as he takes the stage. Stay with us.
It's time for your business of the week. Water bottles are getting a lots upgrade thanks to the entrepreneur. Sarah House launched Swell because she wanted a water bottle that was as stylish as the rest of her life. Now, Swell bottles have become the must-have fashion item.
Weekenders.
Whatever kind of weekender you are, there's a Hilton for you.
Book your weekend right direct at Hilton.com. Enjoy the summer of Weekenders.
After more than 20 years, you can now join Angie's List for free. And everyone has access to our real reviews that we actually verify. And we can also verify that what goes down doesn't always come back up. So if you need a great plumber, find one at Angie's List. Join today for free. Because your home is where our heart is.
I am totally blind. And non-24 can make me show up totally nation. Can make me feel like I'm not really there. Talk to your 844-234-2424.
Oh, look. Another anti-wrinkle cream in no hurry to make anything happen. Neutrogena Rapid Wrinkle Repair works in just 1 week with the fastest retinol formula to physically reduce wrinkles. Neutrogena.
Years of engineering track-bred performance. Dedicated to the moment that changes the entire world. The Porsche Cayenne. Precision. Turn. And up to 570 horsepower. Legendary Porsche performance. Experience the
God, you're kidding me.
Porsche beyond.
God, dude.
Porsche Stevens Fleet. For San Jose Bay Area Porsche dealer. It's 50%. Fucking hell.
Order now with your remote on Xfinity from Comcast.
Good afternoon, I'm Chris Shansing in for Katie Tur. 2 p.m. in New York. Waiting to hear from President Trump. With protesters gathered outside an event in Long Island, inside, it's going to be the first time we'll hear from him actually speaking since the epic fail of the Senate's skinny repeal effort. 7 years of Republican promises to overturn Obamacare, defeated with a single word. It's our word of the day. No.
Ms. Collins. Ms. Murkowski.
Gave the thumbs down. That means a no vote.
None of it was enough to move John McCain off that no vote, off his conviction that this was the wrong bill to vote on.
Angles, the president is getting the word no.
Today we learned that the president called Senator McCain late yesterday in a last-ditch effort to get him to vote yes. President Trump has already made his announcement on Twitter. He said, 3 Republicans and 48 Democrats let the American people down. As I said from the beginning, let Obamacare implode, then deal. Watch. The top Democrat in the Senate issued this warning to the president today.
This idea of sabotage is a very bad thing, and Donald Trump doesn't even get it politically, because if he sabotages the system, it's going to hurt him, as well as hurting millions of Americans.
So, what happens next? And what does this defeat
The
mean for the
fuck
rest
did
of the
you just
president's
do?
agenda? I want to bring in our team of reporters to debrief. NBC's Kristen Welker is at the White House. NBC's Eric Lake is on Capitol Hill. Also with us, the national political reporter for the Boston Globe, Andy Linsky, and senior political reporter for the Washington Post, Aaron Blake. Kristen, the president's speech is not about health care, although from time to time we've known he's gone off topic. He says other things besides what he is at a particular place to talk about. But let's start with what the thinking is, what you're hearing from your sources in the White House about what went down in the Senate.
Chris, I wouldn't be surprised if President Trump weighed in on what we witnessed overnight when he speaks in Long Island just a short time from now. The focus is gang violence, but this is obviously front and center here at the White House. Look, here's the thinking behind the scenes. I was told in no uncertain terms they were surprised by Senator John McCain's vote. As you pointed out at the top, the president made that phone call, that last-ditch effort to try to get him on board. The vice president spent a fair asked him to change his mind, but in the end, he thought this was the wrong course of action. One, it didn't completely repeal Obamacare, and two, it didn't come up with a replacement for Obamacare. That is part of what was fueling the opposition that we saw not only in Senator McCain, but in the two other senators. So what happens next? Well, I think they're still trying to work that out. They say it is good that there is a recess. Lawmakers can go home. They can face their constituents. They can be reminded of the promises they made to voters. 7 years of campaigning, vowing to repeal and replace Obamacare. The White House thinks that could be helpful in terms of having everyone have a reset once they return. But here's the political reality and the reality in terms of the calendar, Chris. This gets a lot tougher moving forward. Why? Because they have to take up certain pieces of legislation in the fall, like the debt ceiling. So it is very likely that you will see this administration move on to other issues like tax reform, like infrastructure, and then what you could see are Democrats and Republicans possibly working together to come up with fixes to Obamacare. We'll have to see what they ultimately decide. We know that there are a number of different issues that they're trying to sort out and a number of different pathways that they're talking through behind the scenes here, but there's no doubt this is a big defeat for this president, because this was one of his key campaign promises.
And I understand that Senator Lindsey Graham was at the White House earlier today. I want to ask you about that, but first, let me play for you what he had to say about skinny repeal. This was before last night's vote.
Not only do we not replace Obamacare, we politically own the collapse of health care. I'd rather get out of the way and let it collapse than have a half-ass approach where it is now our problem.
So do we know what he was doing at the White House this morning, Kristen?
Talk about not mincing words, right, Chris?
So unusual for Lindsey Graham.
That's right. Look, I was told he did have some of his own agenda items to discuss with the president, some legislation that he's interested in working on, but there is no doubt that health care will be one of the key topics they discussed. Why was it defeated? Why wasn't it good enough? Of course, Senator Lindsey Graham was opposed to the legislation, and there's no doubt that the president will press him on that and on a way forward. We haven't gotten a readout of what exactly unfolded in that meeting. We're still working to figure out the fine details, but I think it's worth remembering the broader context here. Lindsey Graham has been someone who's not afraid to criticize this president, Chris, particularly in recent days for some of the rhetoric, the sharp criticism that this president has had for his own attorney general. Of course, Jeff Sessions is one of Lindsey Graham's former colleagues. He's been very defensive and very protective of him and has made it quite clear they are not interested in confirming another attorney general. So some of the back and forth and discord here behind the scenes at the White House, I think, overshadowing the president's agenda. It's possible that was one of the items that was discussed today, Chris.
Yeah, meantime, Derek, you have the president tweeting, "Let Obamacare implode," and we heard what Chuck Schumer had to say about that. So what does happen next? Where can they go with this?
Well, the idea of letting Obamacare implode as a negotiating tactic is likely to be pretty ineffective at this point, because right now there is nothing to negotiate. The bill has essentially been tabled, it's been set aside, and when you talk to Republicans in both houses up here, it's pretty clear that the next step, if there is a next step on Obamacare repeal, is going to have to come from the Senate. Paul Ryan's statement last night, his comments this morning all make pretty clear the House is ready to move on to tax reform, to other issues. They're not interested in continuing to relitigate this. They feel like they've done their part. So if there's going to be a next step on Obamacare, it's going to probably have to bubble up from some of these committees and some of these Republican senators who are either no votes or more moderate folks trying to cobble together something that could pass. But the ball is still very much in the Senate's court on that going forward. And right now, they just don't have the votes on the Republican side alone to get something done.
Yeah, Andy, where's the betting money here? I mean, is the president going to actively try to help Obamacare fail, as he likes to put it, or who has the power here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the president has, been asked about that actually, and at the White House, his top staff has said they're not going to proactively do anything to pull him to allow Obamacare to fail. But the thing that is interesting, I spent some time in Ohio last week, and the anger that
Trump's base has towards, not Democrats, but toward Republicans for just failing to deliver him something that he could sign was so palpable. And I think the point that, going back to these members are going to go back to their home districts for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and they are going to be hearing that so loudly because it was one of the sort of most common things I heard when I was out in Ohio last week.
I want to look at the 3 no votes here. So first of all, you have Lisa Murkowski, who said, look, I'm not up for re-election coming up anyway, and I did what was best for my country. John McCain obviously came back and he said, I'm here. I wanted to move things forward, and he did. He voted yes, but then on this he voted no. You have Susan Collins, Blake Farenthold, if I'm recalling correctly, challenged her to a duel. What is the message here when you look at this? And Aaron, where do these Republicans go in their individual districts as they head home?
Well, I think that it was a situation in which this bill just could not really be crafted in any way that was going to please enough people. They brought the bill to the right and they lost those moderate senators. They tried a more moderate approach, and the Rand Pauls and the Ted Cruzes were balking at this. Anytime you try to take away an entitlement program, you try to do something big like this, there are so many things that are going to alienate people, and they tried pretty much everything on this. I'm not sure how they could even move forward if this was just a Republican.
And here, Aaron, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the President of the United States taking the stage in Suffolk County.
Thank you.
Let's listen.
Thank you very much. This is certainly being home for me. I spent a lot of time right here. I was in Queens, so I'd come here, and this was like the luxury location for me. And I love it. I love the people here, even coming in from the airport. I sat with Nikki Haley, who's here someplace. Where's our Nikki? Ambassador Nikki Haley, who is so incredible. And she's seen crowds in her life, and she said, boy, those are really big crowds. Crowds of people all lining the streets all the way over here, and it's really a special place. And so when I heard about this, I said, I want to do that one. But I really wanted to do it not because of location, but because, as you know, I am the big believer and admirer of the people in law enforcement, okay? From day one. From day one. We love our police, we love our sheriffs, and we love our ICE officers. And they have been working hard. Thank you. They have been working hard. Together we're going to restore safety to our streets and peace to our communities. And we're going to destroy the vile criminal cartel MS-13 and many other gangs. But MS-13 is particularly violent. They don't like shooting people because it's too quick. It's too fast. I was reading one of these animals was caught and explaining they like to knife them and cut them and let them die slowly because that way it's more painful and they enjoy watching that much more. These are animals. We're joined today by police and sheriffs from Suffolk, Nassau, Dutchess, and Ulster counties, state police from New York and New Jersey, many of you I know, great friends, immigration and customs enforcement officers and law enforcement personnel from a number of federal agencies. So we're loaded up with great people, that's what I call it. And I want to just tell you all together right now, and the reason I came, this is the most important sentence to me, on behalf of the American people, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. respects and admires you. You're saving American lives every day, and we have your backs. Believe me, we have your backs 100%. Not like the old days. Not like the old days.
Holy crap. So, this fucking hurts.
You know, when you want to take over used military equipment, they were saying you couldn't do it. You know what I said? That was my first day. You can do it. In fact, that stuff is disappearing so fast we have none left. You guys know it. You really knew how to get that. But that's my honor, and I'll tell you what, it's being put to good use. I especially want to thank ICE Director Tom Holman, who has done an incredible job in just a short period of time. Tom, get up here. I know you just... Tom is determined to rid our nation of cartels and criminals who are preying on our citizens. And I can only say to Tom, keep up the great work. He's a tough guy. He's a tough cookie. Somebody said the other day, they saw him on television, they were interviewed after that. They said, he looks very nasty. He looks very mean. I said, that's what I'm looking for. That's exactly what I was looking for. And for that, I want to congratulate John Kelly, who has done an incredible job of Secretary of Homeland Security. Incredible. One of our real stars. Truly one of our stars. John Kelly is one of our great stars. You know, the border's down 78%. Under past administrations, the border didn't go down, it went up. But if it went down 1%, it was like this was a great thing. Down 78%. And in fact, the southern border of Mexico, we did them a big favor, believe me. They get very little traffic in there anymore because they know they're not going to get through the border to the United States. So that whole group has been incredible, led by General Kelly. Let me also express our gratitude to the members of the New York delegation here today. Congressman Chris Collins, where's Chris? Where's Chris? Well, Chris, right from the beginning, he said Trump is going to win. Trump is going to win. That's why I like him. I didn't like him that much before, now I love him. I'll never... Dan Donovan. Thanks, Dan. Thank you, Dan. And Lee Zeldin, who I supported right from the beginning when they said he didn't have a chance of beating a pretty popular incumbent. And I saw him in a debate. I said, I think this guy's going to win, but he fought a pretty popular guy. And I said, I think he's going to win, and went heavy for him, and he won. And he won pretty easily, didn't you? Pretty good. I'm proud of you. Great job. And of course, a legend. Somebody that we all know very well, sort of my neighbor, because I consider him a neighbor, but he's really a great and highly respected man in Washington, Congressman Peter King. Peter. Very respected guy. He is a respected man that people like to ask opinions of. I do. Congressman King and his colleagues know the terrible pain and violence MS-13 has inflicted upon this community and this country. And if you remember, just a little more than 2 years ago, when I came down the escalator with Melania, and I made the speech, people coming into this country, everyone said, what does he know? What's he talking about? And there was Bedlam. Remember Bedlam? And then about 2 months later, they said, you know, he's right. So I'm honored to have brought it to everybody's attention, but the suffering and the pain that we were going through, and now you can look at the numbers, it's a whole different world. And it will get better and better and better because we've been able to start nipping it in the bud. We've nipped it in the bud. Let's call it start nipping it in the bud. And MS-13, the cartel, has spread gruesome bloodshed throughout the United States. We've gotten a lot of them out of here. Big percentage, but the rest are coming. They'll be out of here quickly, right? Quickly. Good. So I asked Tom.
Oh, that's wonderful.
He was ever in Air Force One. I said, how do you like
First
this?
bunker of the tournament.
I said, hey Tom, let me ask you a
Shittiest
question. How
putt.
tough are these guys? MS-13.
Holy
He said,
shit.
they're nothing compared to my guys. Nothing. And that's what you need. Sometimes that's what you need, right? For many years, they exploited America's weak borders and lax immigration enforcement to bring drugs and violence to cities and towns all across America. They're there right now because of weak political leadership, weak policing, and in many cases because the police weren't allowed to do their job. I've met police that are great police that aren't allowed to do their job because they have a pathetic mayor, or a mayor doesn't know what's going on. But were you applauding for someone in particular? It's sad. It's sad. You look at what's happening, it's sad. But hopefully, certainly in the country, those days are over. You may have a little bit longer to wait. But from now on, we're going to enforce our laws, protect our borders, and support our police like our police have never been supported before. We'll support you like you've never been supported before. Few communities have suffered worse at the hands of these MS-13 thugs than the people of Long Island. Hard to believe. I grew up on Long Island. I didn't know about this. And then all of a sudden, this is like a new phenomenon. Our hearts and our nation grieve for the victims and their families. Since January 16, think of this. MS-13 gang members have brutally murdered 17 beautiful young lives in this area on Long Island alone. Think of it. They butchered those little girls. They kidnap, they extort, they rape, and they rob. They prey on children. They shouldn't be here. They stomp on their victims. They beat them with clubs, they slash them with machetes, and they stab them with knives. They have transformed peaceful parks and beautiful, quiet neighborhoods into stained killing fields. They're animals. We cannot tolerate as a society the spilling of innocent, young, wonderful, vibrant people, sons and daughters, even husbands and wives. We cannot accept this violence one day more. Can't do it. And we're not going to do it because of you. We're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to allow it to happen, and we're backing you up 100%. Remember that. 100%. It is the policy of this administration to dismantle, decimate, and eradicate MS-13 and every other, and I have to say, MS-13,
whatever.
That's a name, rough groups, that's fine. We got a lot of those. And they're all let in here over a relatively short period of time. Not during my period of time.
Idiot. It wasn't me.
They go into jails, and then they go back to their country. Or they go back to their country, period. One by one, we're liberating our American towns. Can you believe what I'm saying? That I'm talking about liberating our towns. It's like I see in a movie. They're liberating the town. Like in the old Wild West, right? We're liberating our towns. I never thought I'd be standing up here talking about liberating the towns.
Yeah, nobody ever thought you'd be standing up there, dude.
But that's what you do. And I can tell you, I saw some photos where Tom's guys, rough guys, they're rough. I don't want to be, you know, say, because they'll say that's not politically correct. You're not allowed to have rough people doing this kind of work. We have to get, just like they don't want to have rich people at the head of Treasury. Okay? Like I want a rich guy at the head of Treasury, right? I want a rich guy at the head of Commerce, because we've been screwed so badly on trade deals. I want people that made a lot of money now to make a lot of money for our country. And by the way, as I was looking up, they just gave me the numbers. Our numbers were just came out this morning. GDP is up double from what it was in the first quarter. 2.6%. We're doing well. We're doing really well, and we took off all those restrictions, and something was statutorily stuck with for a little while, but eventually that statute comes up, and we're going to be able to cut a lot more. But we've sort of liberated the world of creating jobs, like you're liberating us and the people that live in areas. But I have to say, one by one, we are indeed bringing up these great American towns and cities that are under siege from gang violence. Look at Los Angeles. Look what's going on in Los Angeles. Look at Chicago. What is going on here? Is anybody from Chicago? We have to send some of you to Chicago. What's going on? I mean, you see what's happening?
Get in there.
There's no. Do we agree? Is this something maybe? Is this something?
Oh, fuck, dude.
I have to tell you what Chicago's doing. So Chicago is having this unbelievable violence. People being killed 4, 5, 6 in a weekend. And I'm saying, what is going on? So when I was running, we had motorcycle brigades take us to the planes and stuff. And one of the guys, really good, you can see a really respected officer, police officer. He was at the head, he was the boss. And you can see the boss. He actually talked about the boss. Come on, get lined up, because I always take pictures with the police director. And my guy said, don't do it, don't do it. Other candidates didn't do it, that I was beating by 40 points. Can you believe it? But I did it. Maybe that's why I was winning by 40 points. But other candidates would do it. But I always took the pictures with the police. But we're in Chicago, and we have massive motorcycle brigades. And you know, those people have to volunteer. I don't know, from what I understand, they have to volunteer.
From what I understand. Disclaimer, this could be wrong.
300 motorcycles. Even I was impressed. I looked ahead, and it was nothing but motorcycles, because they volunteer from all over various stuff. But there's one guy who was impressed. He was a rough cookie and really respected. He was respected. And he was like, come on, get over here, get over here. He's got to get to work, get over here. And I said, so what do you for sure? Yes, ma'am. He said, what the hell is going on? And he said, it's a problem, can we straighten it out? I said, how long would it take you to straighten out this problem? He said, if you gave me the authority, a couple of days.
Yeah, right.
I really mean it. I said, you with this? He said, a couple of days. We know all the manuals. We know them all. He said, the officers, you guys, we know all the manuals in your area. You know by their names. He said, we know them all. A couple of days. I said, you got to be kidding me. So I said, give me a card. And he gave me a card. And I sent it to the mayor. I said, you're going to try using this guy. Guess what happened? Never heard. will bring back justice to the United States. I'm very happy to have gotten a great justice in the United States. Not only nominated, but approved. And what would be a Second Amendment to say? Your Second Amendment is feel good about that. Wasn't looking so good for the Second Amendment, was it?
Oh, were they good? Were we repealing the Second Amendment now? Fucking idiot. Oh, shit.
Today for every gang member and criminal alien that are threatening so violently our people. We will find you, we will arrest you, we will jail you, and we will deport you. And you know, we had some problems with certain countries. Still doing a couple, but we'll take care of them. Anytime we have a trade deficit, it's very easy. It's almost everywhere. We have trade deficits with almost every country
Because we're the richest fucking country in the world, dude.
So it's almost everywhere, so that takes care of itself. But we had certain countries in South America where they would take the people back. I said, that's okay, no more trade. All of a sudden they started taking their people back. It's amazing, isn't it? They used to send to the former Secretary of State country, please go, would you please look at so that we can take. They used to just tell her, no, we won't take back. They take back with us.
Wow, broken English, that's great, dude.
No, we're having very little problem. Are we having any problem right now with that? Huh? You better believe it. Give me the names of the few problems. We'll take care of this. Unbelievable.
That's good.
One of the old people, one of the people that represented the other administration said, why do you use that, the power of the vote? Sir, we think one thing has nothing to do with another. I said, oh, really? So we'll have big deficits and they won't take back these criminals that came from there and should be back there? Well, believe me, to me, everything matters. But they're all taken back. ICE officers recently conducted the largest crackdown on criminal gangs in the history of our country. In just 6 weeks, ICE and our law enforcement partners arrested nearly 1,400 suspects and seized more than 200 illegal firearms and some beauties and nearly 600 pounds of narcotics. The men and women of ICE are turning the tide in the battle against MSW. But we need more resources from Congress, and we're getting that. Congress is actually opening up and really doing the job. They should have approved healthcare last night. We can't have everything. Boy, oh boy. They've been working on that one for 7 years. Can you believe that? The swamp. Oh, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. You know, I said from the beginning, let Obamacare implode and then do it.
How come nobody's cheering you, dude?
Right now, we have less than 6,000 enforcement and removal officers in ICE. This is not enough to protect a nation of more than 320 million people. It's essential that Congress fund another 10,000 ICE officers so that we can eliminate MSWG and root out the criminal cartels from the country. Now, we're getting them out anyway, but we'd like to get them out a lot faster. And when you see these towns, and when you see these thugs being thrown into the back of a paddy wagon, you just see them thrown in, rough. I said, please don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody into the car and you're protecting their head, you know, when you put the hand of, like, don't hit their head and they've just killed somebody, don't hit their head. I said, you can take the hand away, okay?
What the fuck?
Hey, let's get the police to cheer at police brutality. That's a great idea.
Essential that Congress fund hundreds more federal immigration judges and prosecutors, and we need them quickly. Quickly. If we're going to dismantle these deadly networks, and I have to tell you, you know, the laws are so horrendously stacked against us because for years and years they've been made to protect the criminals. Totally made to protect the criminal, not the officers. If you do something wrong, you're in more jeopardy than they are. These laws are stacked against you. We're changing those laws. But in the meantime, we need judges for the simplest things that you should be able to do without a judge. But we have to have those judges quickly. In the meantime, we're trying to change the laws. We're also working with Chairman Bob Goodlatte on a series of enforcement measures, and he's a terrific guy, to keep our country safe from crime and terrorism, and in particular, radical Islamic terrorism. A term never uttered by past administration. Never uttered. Did anybody ever hear that term? I don't think so. But you heard it from me. That includes cracking down on sanctuary cities that defy federal law.
Like the one you're in.
Visa overstays and that release dangerous criminals back into the United States communities. That's what's happening. They're releasing them. So many deaths where they release somebody back into the community. And they know it's going to end that way. That's the goal. They know it's going to end that way. We're ending those procedures. We have to secure. I spoke to parents, incredible parents. I got to know so many parents of children that were so horribly killed, burned to death, beaten to death, just the worst kind of death you can ever, stuffed in barrels. And the person that did it was released, and you'd look at the file, and there were letter after letter after letter of people begging not to let this animal back into society, that this would happen. It would happen quickly. It wasn't even like it would happen over a long period of time. They were saying it would happen quickly. It's total violence. He's a totally violent person. You cannot let this person out. They let the person out, and sometimes it would happen like on the first day. And then you have to talk to the parents and hold the parents.
That sucked.
And they're crying. So, I mean, crying. Their lives are destroyed. And nobody thinks about those people. They don't think about those people. They're devastated. But we're ending so much of that. We're ending, hopefully, all of that. The laws are tough. The laws are stacked against us, but we're ending it.